Hello, it's Ruby, and today I will be launching my anti-bullying series because tomorrow National Anti-Bullying Week commences. It's from the 14th to the 18th of November and it is run by the Anti-Bullying Alliance. Their slogan this year is Power for Good. However, for my series I will be using the tag Always Stand Up, always coming from Severus Snape of course. So please use this tag if you are going to take a stand against bullying. I just think it's really important that we stand up against bullying because it's an issue that so many school children struggle against, and it's something that can be extremely hurtful. So for the first video in this series, I'm going to be doing an anti-bullying book list. So I have around 15 books which I'm going to be sharing with you. These are books that I've read, books that centre around bullying, and so if you do decide to read any of these books, please let me know what you thought. I will be moving on to younger readers at the end, so books for kids maybe up until the age of about 11. So do stay tuned until the end if you would prefer to read something a bit easier. My first book is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Now, despite this being one of the best books that I've ever read, it is about bullying. And so it talks about a young boy called Connor who is being bullied at school, and his mother has cancer, and a monster comes every evening to his room. It's a really heart-wrenching book. It's so sad, one of the best books I've ever read. I definitely recommend it, especially for Anti-Bullying Week. The second book is one of the most famous books about anti-bullying, which is Wonder. Wonder is a beautiful story about a boy called August with a deformed face, and he's never been to a normal school before, and then he goes for the first time to a new school where he is invariably picked on. And it's a beautiful story about standing up for yourself and about how beauty isn't only skin deep. I definitely recommend it for anyone who has not read it. The next book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Cosby. I think it's Cosby. Kobosky. This is about a boy called Charlie who starts his first day of high school. Charlie is suffering with depression and he starts to get bullied by some of the seniors. The book isn't centred entirely on bullying, but there are elements of it in this. So the next book is one of the best bullying books I've ever read, and this one focuses entirely on bullying. It is called Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood, and I actually had this book on my Kindle, so I can't show you the hard copy of this. I only read Cat's Eye over half term actually, because I saw it on an anti-bullying book list that The Independent did, and I immediately thought I need to go and read this. So I read it and I am so glad that I did. It's about a girl called Elaine who has never really been to a real school before. She has been travelling around the country with her father who looks at insects, that's his job. And then they go to this new school where she makes 3 new friends. One of the girls, Cordelia, is not the nicest friend. It's one of those toxic friendships where the victim doesn't really realise that they're being bullied, and as a result the bullying just continues and continues. The book is written from the adult's perspective, looking back on the events that happened, and it explores how bullying can impact somebody as an adult. It is for older readers. The second half of the book does have some really strong language, and also there are some explicit parts, so please don't read this unless you're over the age of 14 or 15. The next book is Carrie by Stephen King. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of the film, if not watched it and read it. Carrie is quite terrifying. It's very scary, but what drives this terrifying event that happens at the end is the fact that Carrie is bullied. The Lifeboat Clique, and this only came out at the beginning of this year. I had it pre-ordered on Amazon. I was so excited to read it. I have to say with this one I was a bit let down on it. It wasn't quite as good as I thought it would be. It's very much teen chick flick in a book. Despite that, it did get better as I went along. It's been described as Mean Girls meets Life of Pi. The main character goes to a party. She is not very popular, and then a tsunami hits, and she is swept out to sea with 3 of her bullies. It's the breaking of barriers, the breaking of social barriers. I realise that I'm talking quite a lot about all of these books, so I'm going to try and be a tiny bit more concise. The next book I'm going to recommend to you is Torn by Kent Clark. I read this when I was in year 8, so it was quite a while ago, but it really stuck with me. I was really impressed by it. All I can say is that it is very tense. It's not what you're expecting. The next book is Fat Boy Swim. I read this in English class when I was in year 7. It's about a boy who is obese and he is bullied for being so. And as a kind of outlet for this, he starts swimming. Another book like that actually is Butter. And this is again about an obese boy who is being bullied. However, he decides that he is going to eat himself to death. He's going to commit suicide by overeating. The Lord of the Flies, perhaps the most famous book about bullying that has ever been published. I don't think I have to go over the storyline because I am pretty sure most people are aware of this. The next book is the Click series by Lisi Harrison, and again this is definitely a chick flick book. I really loved this series when I was in year 7, so I do recommend it if you're maybe about 10 to 13. It's about Massey's group and how they isolate Claire and how they make her feel practically worthless. It's not really quite so emotional as the other books I've described, but it talks about bullying all the same. The next book is Walking Naked, which my friend Eleanor recommended to me, and this is about the most interesting victim I think I've ever come across in a book. She speaks only in quotes from literature, so Shakespeare and poetry and novels. I just know that you are going to love it if you read it. Also, I'd like to recommend Jessica's Ghost, which was longlisted for the Carnegie Medal last year. I only read this a few days ago because I wrote a bullying book list within school, and this is one of the ones that I put on, but I wanted to have read it before I recommended it. So this book is very easy to understand. It is aimed at young readers, but it talks about suicide, depression and bullying, and it is raising awareness of all three of these in a manner which is easy for children to understand. So now on to the books for younger readers. So I'm only going to list these, I'm not really going to go into very much depth, but you can have a look, because I know that this video is very long already, but just have a look at these if you are under the age of 11, because these are books that I really liked when I was younger. The first book is Secrets and Mallory Towers. I love the Mallory Towers books, and this one actually has elements of bullying in it. So the next book is Matilda by Roald Dahl. I have 2 Jacqueline Wilson books. Jacqueline Wilson was my favourite author when I was younger, and the 2 that I can recommend are Cookie and Bad Girls. Also, there's a Kathy Cassidy one. This one's Ginger Snaps. She's only really bullied at the beginning, but there are elements of bullying within the book. The next one is the 5th book in the series of unfortunate events, which is The Austere Academy. This was my favourite book in the whole of the series. I adored it. The next book is 8 Keys by Suzanne LaFleur. If you want to read a book that is easy to understand but you still want a good storyline, this is definitely the book for you. Then the last 2 books which I have are American Girl books. The 2009 Girl of the Year was Chrissa, and these are her 2 books. So Chrissa and Chrissa Stand Strong, and this focuses entirely on bullying. This is a great way for young children to come to terms with what bullying is and become more aware of the issue. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you do try some of these books because I enjoyed reading all of them. Make sure to use the tag Always Stand Up because it's so important that we all stand up against bullying together. Also, if you haven't yet sent me in a video of you saying I'm taking a stand against bullying, please be sure to do that because I'm going to put together a video of lots of different people taking a stand against bullying, which I will be putting on my YouTube. So you can send that to my business inquiries email address if you have your parents' permission. So thank you for watching and have a productive week.